An Elf's Tale. One can pay back the loan of gold, but one dies forever in debt to those who are kind. Malayan proverb. It was 6 o'clock at the mall, and I was as exhausted as an elf on Christmas Eve. In fact, I was an elf, and it was Christmas Eve. That December of my 16th year, I'd been working 2 jobs to help my parents with my school tuition and to make a little extra holiday money. My second job was as an elf for Santa to help with kids' photos. Between my 2 jobs, I'd worked 12 hours straight the day before. On Christmas Eve, things were so busy at Santaland that I hadn't even had a coffee break all day. But this was it. Only minutes more, and I'd have survived. I looked over at Shelley, our manager, and she gave me an encouraging smile. She was the reason I'd made it through. She'd been thrown in as manager halfway through the season, and she'd made all the difference in the world. My job had changed from stress-filled to challenging. Instead of yelling at her workers to keep us in line, she encouraged us and stood behind us. She made us pull together as a team. Especially when things were their craziest, she always had a smile and an encouraging word. Under her leadership, we'd achieved the highest number of mall photo sales in California. I knew it was a difficult holiday season for her. She'd recently suffered a miscarriage. I hoped she knew how great she was and what a difference she'd made to all her workers and to all the little children who'd come to have their pictures taken. Our booth was open until 7. At 6, things started to slow down and I finally took a break. Although I didn't have much money, I really wanted to buy a little gift for Shelley so that she'd know we appreciated her. I got to a store that sold soap and lotion just as they put the grate down. "Sorry, we're closed," barked the clerk, who looked as tired as I was and didn't sound sorry at all. I looked around and, to my dismay, found that all the stores had closed. I'd been so tired I hadn't noticed. I was really bummed. I had been working all day and had missed buying her a present by 1 minute. On my way back to the Santa booth, I saw that Nordstrom was still open. Fearful that they too would close at any moment, I hurried inside and followed the signs toward the gift gallery. As I rushed through the store, I began to feel very conspicuous. It seemed the other shoppers were all very well dressed and wealthy, and here I was, a broke teenager in an elf costume. How could I even think I'd find something in such a posh store for under $15? I self-consciously jingled my way into the gift gallery. A woman sales associate, who also looked as if she'd just stepped off a fashion runway, came over and asked if she could help me. As she did, everyone in the department turned and stared. As quietly as possible, I said, "No, that's okay. Just help somebody else." She looked right at me and smiled. "No," she said. "I want to help you." I told the woman who I was buying for and why, then I sheepishly admitted I only had $15 to spend. She looked as pleased and thoughtful as if I'd just asked to spend $1,500. By now, the department had emptied, but she carefully went around, selecting a few things that would make a nice basket. The total came to $14.09. The store was closing. As she rang up the purchase, the lights were turned off. I was thinking that if I could take them home and wrap them, I could make them really pretty, but I didn't have time. As if reading my mind, the saleslady asked, "Do you need this wrapped?" "Yes," I said. By now, the store was closed. Over the intercom, a voice asked if there were still customers in the store. I knew this woman was probably as eager to get home on Christmas Eve as everybody else, and here she was, stuck waiting on some kid with a measly purse.